Here we are in Source of the Nile. I think we've made it through about half the game at this point. One player was killed. Is coming in with a new character. Another geologist, actually, for various reasons. One returned, published a little bit of stuff, has about a third of his victory points, a little less than that, but has a big expedition that he's planning on going up to Limpopo. Our doctor over here has basically had his expedition wiped out, which is something the geologist here had, but he's going to head home and try to publish this set of things to the best of his capability. Hope he doesn't get killed, whatever. And then the final one, our missionary, is kind of struggling in terms of he got caught in some ugly swamps and stuff and just couldn't get out of them. His expedition's okay. He's down to one canoe worth at this point, about half the expedition, but it's enough to keep working. However, I would say, other than the guy who got wiped out completely, he's probably in the next worst shape, to be honest. Just because he hasn't gathered much. He gathered about the same as Red did, but hasn't made it back yet to publish and, you know, attempt a new expedition. There's a good chance that this guy could actually get enough to win off his next expedition. There's a good chance that this publication is going to be big enough to maybe short circuit the donations process, but he got some big donations, which is the big advantage there. Anyway, that's where we're at. We're going to pause for now, and I don't know when I come back. Before I start playing, I want to do some personal stuff. I did go for that walk to go see the sunset. It was boring like it was last time, but less impactful. So I wandered away before the show was over. Although I got to hear some Supertramp while I was out. But anyway, while I was out, something happened to me that happens every few years. The first time it happened, I thought I was going to die. But anyway, I drank some tea wrong and started choking, and it ends up like I can't really breathe. Like, I don't really choke, I just can't breathe. So it's like, and I'm getting air in enough to kind of exist off of. But the first time I was absolutely terrified. I think that was off of peanut butter, actually. But again, it happens every now and then. It always feels like, you know, I'm just not getting enough air, and I'm like getting dizzy and about ready to pass out and everything. Just have to calm down. But it's a weird thing. It wouldn't be a bad way to go. It would be really miserable for a little while, and then, you know, dead. Yeah. And I've also grown so used to it, not that it happens regularly, but used to it enough that, like, yeah, there's that, you know. So it's not terrifying anymore. It was kind of scary to feel like I was going to pass out. I don't remember that happening before. But anyhow, Red is going to get started. He's got a river to follow. Let's get going. I'm cautious because we're not a foot group. I generally just tend to go cautious. It's just safer. A rhino surprises your expedition on the veldt. I am on the veldt, not in a port. Lose one man each time he charges. He will charge up to 6 times if not killed. Each Excari and the Explorer can fire each time he charges. It requires 6 hits to kill him. Okay, well, I have 8 dice. I am not anything special. This is pretty exciting. First charge. I got no hits. So that's going to be one guy dead. My team is bare bones, right? I've got just as many bearers as I need. So I'm going to take a die away. And roll 7 dice. One of my Ascaris just died. That's 1 hit. I got to get to 6 hits. It's get hits on this thing. It's not going well. I'll kill another Ascari. Again, I just don't have the guides, and my portage is where it has to be. I actually have an extra horse now that I can't handle. Okay, that's 3 hits. So that brings this up to 4, but that's a 3rd dead. Another Ascari down, I guess. I could kill my guide off. Let's kill my guide off. I don't like being without a guide, but I'm getting too low on Ascaris. I have a decent amount. Fuck it. I'll kill an Ascari off. One more hit. Not good enough. That's a 4th dead. Now I will kill the guide. Because I've got way too few Ascaris. At least we'll have food because we'll be shooting an animal. And we save the last 2 dice. So I'm losing 3 Ascaris and a guide. I'm able to reposition my stuff. Unfortunately, that repositioning leaves me with 6 pack mounts, 7 ride mounts. Whatever food I shot, if I want to eat the rhino. No, but I got horses that I just killed or let loose. Unfortunately, I don't really have room to haul them all. I have 155 transport capacity and 154 total space. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, 154 total space. So I can only carry 1 horse stake with me. Plus I'm without a guide, which puts me in a problematic situation as well. However, I could have actually been moving normal, because going upriver is a 2. The guide brings me down to a 1. I'm safe. I didn't need the cautious movement. I like to do it anyway just because natives and whatnot. Let's see what I find. My hunting didn't go terribly well. I couldn't stuff up beforehand. You got to do it at the end of the turn to feed. And I ended up eating 1 food in addition to that steak that I brought. But I've still got a pretty good distribution here of what I can carry. I only have 6 pack animals because I only have 2 bearers. If I was out of Ascaris, I could lead horses myself. The geologist, the yellow guy, drew a $200 donation. That's appealing. I'll get rid of the $50 donation I have here. And now I've got a pretty good sum. I'm just really waiting on the ticket, because I still can't afford a ticket. I'm at $500, $600, $700, $800. A $300 expedition is kind of crap, and free tickets are fairly common. Plus, maybe I draw better things, so I'm going to stay out there with him. All right, I got to reshuffle the deck. That's 3rd shuffle. There's no need to keep count of the shuffles, but here had a kind of dicky move in a way. I mean, the system did it. It forked the river into these 2 spaces. That makes the Degui have to be able to come out into this space and this space, etc. So I've got to be kind of careful about where it's going to have enough room to flow to make sure that its basin stays plausible. This is a fuzzy part of the rules, just how much you project in advance as to it. Yeah, it's going to be somewhat tricky, to be honest. All right, let me swap batteries, get a new pipe, and yada, yada, yada. Dr. Blue is down to very little. He can't just go straight through here. This would be a villager I'd have to deal with. But I could go fast movement and get myself to here. I don't see a real reason for that. Might as well be here. So I'll just do normal movement. A crocodile eats a bear. Okay, that's not a problem. If it just ate a party member, it would be difficult. And that gets me here. I have to hunt. There should still be a river there. I think I'm guaranteed food. Yeah. A $400 donation. That is almost a ticket. I think I'm going to cash in with 6 cards instead of 5. Right? And since I get to pick where I get to go, I might just do the Khartoum expedition. Give you guys a view of that. Now, he is a geologist. Crossing the river is useful. I don't know what the fuck that is. Is that the... That's an impassable cataract. I cannot go across that. Camels are almost as good as horses. Like, I mean, I don't know. Camels can't enter a jungle or swamp is the problem. But I can't buy horses up there. Horses can't enter a swamp. And of course, neither can enter a lake, but... I think I will build myself a camel expedition then. $700, I was a little tight. 4 Ascari, 1 bear, a guide. I'm only bringing 1 pack mount with me. That's not great. I've got a high proportion of hunting capability though. With the 1 pack mount, I have a total capacity of 55. I'm taking 20 rations and 20 gifts. It's not a great expedition by any means, but we're going to see if we can discover the Nile this way. Alrighty, the problem is we're going to be going this way, which means that this is liable to die before the White Nile does, for whatever it's worth. But we might have longest river out of this. Drawing many river cards to get something that's illegal. We end up curving into here, though, so there'll be 2 branches coming out and then forking back together. That's fine. I don't think that violates the circularity. Again, it makes sense, which to me is the big deal, as opposed to following the rules explicitly. You might argue that, yeah, if these 2 connect, it becomes a circle, but this is a perfectly reasonable thing for a river to fork and rejoin. That's how islands are made. We got a big island there. We found a tribe, bribed them off. They're friendly. We're running kind of low on food. So I'm thinking we got an extra 100 capacity. I think we want to buy some more food, which means we look for the exchange rate, which is over here. Each gift gets us X rations. Now, I don't know if we roll for each gift separately. I don't remember that. Or if we make 1 roll and then figure out what we get out of it. You can only trade for 1 time. Each time you trade... Oh, this is what he was mentioning. Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot this. Each time an explorer trades with a friendly tribe, a jealous witch doctor attempts to poison him. The explorer dies on a roll of 1. I'm going to give... Well, I will attempt to trade. Yeah. So I didn't mention this when I was going over the rules, and I thought this was only game 2. I'm not used to trading with the natives, to be honest. I get a 5. That means I get 5 food for each gift that I give away. So I got room for another 50 food. I'm going to give 10 gifts and get that exchange. Now, somewhere I should put that I've traded 10 gifts here. Because this is a medium tribe, I can only give them like 35 gifts. Wrong when I commented on YouTube because I didn't think this was a roll. All right, let's see if the game is over for this guy. On a 1 it is. Oh look, there goes green. All right, he's wiped out. Everything he found is gone, and he doesn't want to play anymore. He's too pissed about this. Here's what happened to the Congo. It's cleared out. This is why I think I played without doing trade ever. Because, man, a 1 in 6 chance you lose the game right like that every time you trade. It's a good reason not to take muskets with you, right? All right, I'm going to go correct my YouTube comment there. Because, yeah, I was just absolutely wrong. I completely forgot about that rule, which explains why I didn't see it when I was kind of skimming the rules, giving the answers back. But I do think that at some point or another I came to that decision. I suspect that I played at times without worrying about that with other players, because I know that I never did set my expeditions up for trade. Blue makes it back to Europe. Not going to publish yet. Obviously going to draw some cards, etc. Yeah. All right, down to 3 players, I guess. Wee. All right, so I found gold here. I also found natives. The gold's worth 3 victory points. The natives I managed to avoid because, yeah, they're just too dangerous, man. Yellow gets to get started. Coming out of Khartoum. Oh, I think I talked about this. Maybe not. River's curving up this way. Got to be careful because I can't enter the Zambezi hex. This is reserved for them. Over here, we found the end of the river. And that's about it. Means I have a hard trip going forward. Gonna try to find if the Nile comes out of the swamp, but yeah, it's not what I was hoping for there. Already got $400 in donations. That's kind of sweet. I still would rather get a ticket or something along those lines, but I'm at the point where if I get a ticket, I probably publish. Or if I don't know. I don't know about a $400 donation or whatever. Those are big, but like, that means I'm running on $300, and that's not a lot at all, as we saw from some of these other expeditions. All right, red found some coal here. No natives. Pushing on. Yellow got a nasty disaster. A flash flood sweeps down the narrow mountain valley in which you are camped, drowning half the men and animals. Ouch, there goes, everything. Geologists can avoid this disaster. Bonus. On blue's side, and everybody seems to be, the missions that I created are doing a better job of hunting. They're better designed than the ones in here. I've always found the ones in here are kind of painful, and when I'm just modifying those, I don't end up creating the kind of groups that work better. Blue drew a ticket to Calabar. Where the fuck's Calabar? That's way up here. There's a river nearby. Another river over here in the Congo. Sounds like it's time to think about a canoe expedition if I'm coming out of there, because I can't get any animals. However, I need to publish, which means I figure out what my victory points are going to be. Able to publish 44 points worth of stuff. That's 11 more cards. That's fucking huge. And this is why maybe it would be worth just publishing right away when you have a bunch like that. But I like to make sure I have a ticket. I didn't realize just how many points I was grabbing, though. Those 11 cards, a couple of them were no donations, and a bunch more were tickets. I got a whole bunch of choices for tickets now. Kilwa. I'm glad I collected extra money. Kilwa puts me over here, not as interesting. Luanda is here near the Congo. That's appealing. Lorenco Masros is over here. Definitely don't want to do that. Calabar is the one up here. This is the closest to a river. I'm not particularly appealing to that. I think I like the Luanda, go for the Congo, extend stuff I have. And Durban, that could put me over here with a horsey expedition, but I think I'll go with the Luanda one. That's more what I want, and I have a shit ton of money. 400, 500, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 1,350 bucks for a canoe expedition. Let's do it. Why I had got so many points is that the doctor is one of the two who has the river and hex bonus, the doctor and the missionary, the 2 points per space. That's a really huge bonus, and it makes up for a lot of the ouch factor. You know, a doctor gives you some extra bonuses too. They can heal people. Maybe they have some advantages with tribes, at least in terms of event cards. Missionary maybe as well. The missionary is not the person who really likes tribes, though. Finding the native tribes, it's the ethnologist who really wants to do that. I don't consider tribes that big of an advantage, so I'm like, well, I'm not sure I really want to deal with them, so I seldom take that. But I think the doctor is not a bad choice, to be honest. Certainly, you know, in terms of victory points. And this puts me near a lot of things, none of which are friendly to me. Well, there is that. Big money, I got a Tenascari expedition this time. Still only 2 canoes, less stuff in them. Some of that stuff is muskets. The reason being that I can convert the muskets into gifts, etc. Again, that involves trade. 1 in 6 chance of just losing the game every time I trade. So, might have been overkill on that. I only have 58 rations and 30 gifts. That's getting me at 88, 98, 518 total carrying capacity out of the 600. The thing is, I have a lot of money. Gifts might be better than rations, though. It might make sense not. No, because yeah, I'm thinking gifts might be better than firepower. Anyway, I'm going to go with this, whatever. And so I set myself up at Luanda, and we run back, and I got to decide if I want to break again. Kind of feel like it. Battery's running down, and I don't know, pipes down, all kind of stuff like that. I got another rules note from the same guy, which is that there's what works out to be a 1 in 12 chance anytime anybody dies in your expedition, that it's your explorer. That's how he phrased it. I don't know if that's the case. It may just be through combat or something like that. Honestly, that, like the Witch Doctor, I feel like the exciting part of the game is kind of the explorer getting left alone and trying to make it back or something. If he starts dying all the time and the whole expedition just crashes, that would take what little charm remains in this game away from it. So I'm not even going to look for that role. I suspect it probably is in battle and not everywhere. So for example, if something like kills an Ascari or a bear or something like that, you wouldn't be vulnerable to it. But again, I just don't even want to know. I feel like the whole heroic aspect of this game would go completely down the drain with that, even if it's more realistic. Right, well, red or pink, found this, a cataract there. No big deal because he's on horses. Makes life easier. But then for yellow, I got a disaster. It's the rhino. Was the other one a hippo? Surprise your expedition on the Veldt. Lose 1 man each time he charges. He'll charge up to 6 times if not killed. Every Ascari in the Explorer can fire each time he charges. It requires 6 hits to kill him. Now here, it's a man, your choice. This is the kind of thing that I wouldn't want the Explorer to be vulnerable to, because it's not at random in any sense of the word, again. All right, well, I only have 5 firepower. And we'll get some other dice for the different charges. He's a geologist, so he has no bonus. We'll roll. I get no hits, so somebody's killed. I gotta figure out if I need my bears. Rhino is one hell of a nasty event. It's knocked me down to 2 Ascaris and myself. I am going to lead 3 pack mounts with me, just because that'll allow me to carry 75 goods, not 55. The pack mounts are food. Basically what I'm looking at is, you know what, I don't have enough Ascaris for it to really matter. If they desert me, they desert me. And since I have no victory points or anything, I'm gonna just try to press on. And so we lost another Ascari. We discovered another Velt here. And, you know, do what we can. I mean, it's kind of at the, if you can't rush your way through with just one guy at this point, fuck it. There's not much else that can be done. Meanwhile, blue has moved up here, gotten around the, portaged around those by moving fast speed, six movement points. That gave me enough to get the portage through. I forgot to hunt. I produced tons of food. That's 33 food. That's good enough to feed everyone. Going up the Limpopo here. Found some more. This is forcing the Zambezi to come. It has to go up this way. And I can't, like my river can't cause the Zambezi to be fucked. But we're heading in a different direction at least. Oh, has a bit of a problem. I went into a desert hex. Now, I know something. This can't be a desert hex. But it could be another swamp. And I'm not allowed to enter a swamp. I would be out of water here if that was the case. Now, how much water am I carrying? I am carrying, I have 65, I have 15 water. I had to drink 3 of it. So now I have, and there's no place for it, but I'm going to put 12 water here. I might lose my camels if I try to go into here. I got to decide. I could bug back out next turn. I did the exploration of the desert just to get the hex. If I go back, I'm safe, and then I could head somewhere else. And if I move normal speed instead of cautious, I can actually explore a hex, which might be worth it. It's hard to tell. You know, pressing forward, I tried to make a quick calculation of how many points I've got. It's a little over 20. Not really enough. This is important because blue is now, you know, starting to explore, and I've got to worry about him because he's got, what, 44 points banked? But, yeah. Yeah, we shall see. Not go very well for red. They found some more mountainous river here. Found a tribe. Tried to go with technology. I'm far enough away. Haven't seen a tribe in a while. Great. I'm going to have to reshuffle for an extraordinary. Consequence of defeat gave me a pretty good recovery, but my expedition is pretty much broken. 4 members, 9 food, and a musket. I chose to take a bearer with me so I can carry the food without losing my Ascaris. But now I gotta hunt and yada yada yada, all that stuff. We shall see. I gotta keep going, you know. Nice thing about the geologist is the stuff he finds is like mining stuff. He doesn't actually have to bring samples home. And therefore, I'm not wiped out. I actually had 9 more points that I didn't count on. Now I got some diamonds. So that brings me up to 13 more points. Like I said, about 20. So say 35 more. That brings me to 58. Plus a lot of these greater quality things. I'm heading towards a chit. That could be good enough. We'll see, you know. But I definitely have to keep going to have any chance of winning. And after yellow tracks back to get water and find some veldt, going normal movement there. Nothing bad happened to him. But now on blue, his disaster. Your camp on the veldt, he is on the veldt, is destroyed by a herd of stampeding elephants. Roll 2 dice, add 2, and consequence of defeat. So that's an 8, which is not fantastic. Explorer escapes with a musket, some 9 rations, and 1 man. That's all I got left for blue. Ruh-roh. I'm going to take a bearer with me. This is problematic. You know, I had a nice, big, rich expedition, really good expedition, and now it's just been wiped out. And again, it's kind of a, all right, well, I guess we keep exploring. I'm taking a bearer with me because I couldn't keep the food otherwise, and there's chances I'd end up starving without both. I end up running into desert, which isn't very easy, so close to jungle area. This is an unlikely pattern to have happened, but there's veldt in between, so it's fine. There are a couple of riverways there. Desert's okay except for the hunting opportunities. No other problems there. I think that's it for tonight. I think we're done, but everybody's fucked at this point, aren't they? Yeah, everybody's basically down to a 2-man or less grouping, which Red may want to turn around now. Because they actually can put together an expedition, and these 2 players are so likely to just get wiped out. Kind of win if everybody else dies, I guess. I think you should have to make it home, but, you know, I mean, if they quit, right? All right, we're going to pause here, and I think I'm going to sleep with whatever, you know, before I come back down. It's like 8:30 in the morning. Now, this is a Friday. I got to go dancing. I slept for, I don't know, a good 4 hours or so. Woke up, I was hungry. Might as well get a little bit of playing in. Part of me, you might argue, should go out and, well, part of me thinks that I should go out and do some yard work or something while it's still cool out. But, you know, that's going to just wake me up in a way that playing a game won't. So, let's go. I don't know if we have a standard rounding roll, but we had a disaster here. Half the men your choice in the expedition become sick. Again, your choice. Doesn't have to be the explorer. But in this case, the explorer is all there is. I feel like it should have some effect while camped in the jungle. Anyway, it doesn't affect me. I'm in the veldt, but yeah. I just wanted to highlight that. I actually didn't see the jungle thing. I thought we were getting hit, so I lied. I wasn't actually trying to do that. All right, onward. I have a chance of getting lost, even though I'm in the veldt, where the lost number is 2, except that I'm going cautious to drop that, so I don't. All right, yellow found a veldt. More importantly, he found a river. This might be part of the Nile. Likely is. It's crossing the hex sides. We also found a tribe which, using whatever it is, policy 6, we were able to get to the negotiating table, gave them 10 goods. We only have 1 more tribal, 10 goods to give. That's okay. And yeah, we're we're fed at least, you know. Not going to trade. I do have more gifts, but the problem is those gifts give me one more before I have to give all my food away, which feels like such a horrible, horrible thing. Nothing else of too much excitement. I have a single bear, and I got a disaster. One of your bears is stung by a desert scorpion and becomes very sick. Doctor saves him on a die roll of 1. Luckily, I am a doctor, but I can't save him. So he is sick now. Now, I could take a 1 victory point hit to give him away, and I think I'm going to do that. The doc here found one of the sources of the Congo, for whatever it's worth. This was weird. It was a continues, but it went into 6 and 5, which it can't go into. But what it does is it ensures that we don't get a stupid end to this river because the drainage basin. So to some extent, being which direction you choose is most likely where a river will end. More, you know, it'll end up shorter when you're in a big drainage basin like this. So I was kind of guaranteeing myself this trip up into these areas, perhaps. Okay, Red has found another tribe. Now this one got a charge off the I think I cheated and went with this actually, but anyway, they got a hide. I cheated because there's a tribe back here. But they got a hide off the charge table, which saves me because it was a large tribe with I only had four firepower, which is not great. Right side for him, the river leads right into this hex. He might find something. Yellow runs into lake here. That's part of the Nile system. I can't enter the lake. I'm not a Jesus bug, so we go back to the villagers that are friendly and say, wait, why didn't you tell us there was a lake? We could, like, get a canoe or something, but we don't, I don't know, we don't have enough gifts to be able to outfit a whole canoe expedition. Oh, moving into this new space, there were no natives there. There was cataract, but it's desert, which is a little weird. We successfully explored. We get to see it's the native kingdom. Now, for a geologist, the native kingdom is only worth 5 more victory points. I may have enough. I doubt it. I was at like 21 around here. So 3, 6, 9, 15 more. Yeah, it's getting close. I'm gonna have to do a count. But yeah, let's hunt, which probably won't work well. We don't get anything. It's in the desert. Which means I would have to feed 5 people. I have rations for this. I'm going to do so. Because normally I can hunt. I count Red's got 54 points coming to them. That's enough to put them over the 75. It's time to start heading home. I do have to worry about tribes. I could try to avoid those tribes, but that's kind of risky. Another option is instead of heading back the same way. And the same way is kind of appealing because I have the Zambezi, which at least here and here it has to be the river. This tribe, 31, is the only one. I don't have anything marked here, but they're not friendly, so it doesn't really matter. Is the only one that I would have to face before being able to take advantage of likely river areas near the Zambezi. I don't know what happened here. I must have bumped things. I don't know. This wasn't close. I don't know what I bumped. Heck, it's that. This has to be here. I don't know what I bumped. This is fucked up. Huh. Space I did not reach. I don't know. That's at least legal, but I don't know if that's what it was. I got a lake again. Terrible. Being on an area that's next to a lake, though, I can get water out of the lake, but it's not the same advantages as a river gives me. Getting into drainage problems, the Congo's heading back this way. I got to be careful about the Ogi. Way home. Yellow gets a disaster. You accidentally follow an animal trail instead of main trail. Use direction guide to determine which hex is the next hex you must try to enter, I guess. Wouldn't apply if you're on a canoe expedition. So we're going to have to try to go to this lake. That's another fuck up and won't work. That ends up having to bug out. It's a desert. Could I carry enough water? No, I only have one bearer. It's carrying 2 food. So maybe we'll try to go around this way too. Just checking because that looked like it swerved into there. Or I may chance the native, but that's really risky. Found more of the Nile coming down this way. Nothing else of any excitement. Found another source to the Congo. Also found themselves some natives. They gave the rest of their food away. They're down to nothing. They don't have to give away their personal musket. But now I have no food, and I will be entering the desert without food. Desert is a dangerous place, so what I probably want to do is move reckless so that I can push past it. On one of the 2 hexes they have to make their way through to get by that tribe. Ends up lost and unable to move forward. Following the river upstream in the veldt, whatever, still has a chance, and I don't have a guide anymore. Blue found the Congo goes up here, more or less had to, and in order to allow the but I noticed a problem. I started to draw a jungle in here. It's not jungle. And then I noticed, oh, this was jungle too and couldn't be. And in fact, this couldn't be desert. So everything's fucked up terrain-wise there. Those would have had, like, this would have had to be a veldt. This would have to be veldt. This is veldt. I'm not going to worry about it at this point because the game is probably almost over. River, red is lost in the mountains. The mountains number is a 3. Confused. Yellow finds a swamp, but I still have camels. I can't go in the swamp and keep them. I want to keep them because they're carrying a bunch of goods still, so I bugged out of there. I've been doing my movement wrong. I've been doing it as normal, thinking he was a foot expedition too. It's just hard to keep track of that. I thought all the expeditions were wiped out completely, but his still has animals. Red has essentially won the game. I found another mountain here. Oh, let me check for bonus. I discover lead. Well, that'll only help because that's worth a die roll. A lot of points. 4 in this case. And the only problem is I wasn't able to hunt, so I had 1 food left, which fed my explorer. Everyone else abandoned me. It's possible I could starve on the way out. I think it's highly unlikely because of the rivers, but I should be able to make it here, traveling reckless or whatever. And that will essentially be the end of the game. Well, let's see what other people have happen. Just play it out to the bitter end. But I don't think there's any chance of him dying unless, well, disasters. Bug out again from the swamp. The Nile is turning ugly up there. Touch on something that I really don't like going on right now. Okay, fine. The swamps I don't care about. You can walk. You could go on foot and get those. But there's no real way to explore these lakes. And what that means is when he leaves the game, like if you were playing a multi-game thing, this connection to the Nile, now it's not fully explored, so he wouldn't be able to get furthest, like he wouldn't be able to count it towards furthest river or anything like that. I don't even know that this space is part of the Nile yet, right? Because I haven't explored this space. But what it means is, in between games or whatever, this can all get erased. It kind of sucks. Because if I were playing multiple, to fill out the map of Africa or whatever, stuff that affected his positioning and how he moved and everything might not be real. There might be some kind of faux lake there that, he imagined or something. I got no idea. It feels like if you're going to do that, it doesn't really matter if you're not playing multiple games of it. But if you're going to do that, these probably ought to be filled in as what they are and just, say screw it for that. And maybe all half hexes should be treated that way. Just with the, it's only fair that, like, the terrain that affected people actually gets filled out. Screw it, you can't actually explore it anymore. That's not as big a deal as that this stuff that influenced what was published isn't really real. And in particular, in this case, if these stop being lakes, what do they turn into? Well, they might turn into marshes, which would be fine, but they might also turn into absolute garbage that, like, just really doesn't make sense. I don't know. But the game's not really designed to handle that fill out the map type thing. I've played secondary games after a primary game, but I don't think I've gone beyond that, and I'm sure the hell not going to now. I just don't like the game enough solo to do it, although I'm having a good enough time right now. I definitely don't want to play this out as, a 40-hour experience. Anyways, though, this is one of the first games that I think you could kind of apply that legacy game type concept to. Sure, the game's not destroyed by you playing it, right? It's not like you can only draw on the map once. You could play with markers, use Sharpies on it instead or something, but and you'd end up with a prettier picture out of the whole thing. And you could make it, that sort of destructive legacy game. But, as far as I'm concerned, like when I played Gloomhaven up there, I used removable stickers so that I wasn't destroying the game. The only other one I have is Seafall, which I got for very little, it was fairly cheap. And I thought my wife and I could enjoy playing it out as sort of a campaign, and we thought the same thing about Gloomhaven, but honestly, by the time I was buying those, we weren't gaming anymore. Not much, We'd play Express every now and then, and maybe a little Euro or something, but the idea of, like, some kind of campaign that we could get into really wasn't happening. We weren't even playing Dominion very often anymore, which used to be our kind of go-to. Anyway, where the hell am I? I'm on Dr. Blue. I'm just chattering because I know the game's over, basically. Discovered a desert. I went into it. The hell with it. This guy's heading home. I know he's winning. I'm just like, yeah, let's experience more game, I guess, rather than bug out and then try to figure out some way of getting back and getting around or something. It's looking like there's just this nasty barrier of stuff. I might want to get on foot and slog through the swamp. That might have been better, but right now, fuck it. We'll go through the desert. What am I carrying? I can carry a bunch of water. I have 10 water with me. That is almost enough. I need one more. Let me get rid of a ration so that I have enough water for another turn. We had a canoe expedition to go up the Congo. Got blocked as well by a lake there. Too bad. And unless there's a disaster, I found a cache with a canoe, 10 gifts, and a musket. And I'm next to the river, so I actually do find it. I don't have anything I can do with that. I'm not going to calculate out the victory points. He makes it back to Europe. But what we would do at this point is we would look up all the peaks and waterfalls. Now, there's one waterfall that's bigger than any of mine, so I'd get the second and third place for waterfalls. Which just add to my points. So there's no question that he's gotten his 75 points and the game is over. Publication would expose all this. That Native Kingdom, nice extra points too. So this would all show. For what it's worth. That's actually published terrain. We'd also, I think, be getting second longest river because there's like 25 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'd get 11 more points for that because, again, I'm publishing enough points to win the game. For whatever it's worth. We got some weird situations with rivers. The Zambezi has to kind of come out this way. The Ogiu might end up with one of those situations that I don't know is legal, where like it's going to be sharing the same basin as the Congo through that lake, assuming the lake's real. Look, the game is really, really random. This guy was off on his own, jiggling around here, got himself a few points. This guy came in with a big publication there, huge expedition, great stuff. Ended up crushed by it. He had a pretty big expedition too. In fact, everybody got crushed in the fairly early game of their second expeditions. And it was just like, very little wandering around, hoping to get the win. One player quitting because he was doing a so-so and then just died and was like, I'm going to be starting at such a disadvantage to everyone else. But yeah, I hope this gives you some idea of what the game is like. It can be a lot of fun watching horrible things happen, but it almost feels like too many bad things happen in it. Stuff like the fucking witch doctor really kind of ruined one of the options in the game, which is expecting to do a lot of trading with natives. If every time you trade with natives there's a 1 in 6 chance that you lose the game, boy, that's not much fun. The odds just shouldn't be that hefty. I feel like one could tinker with this game a lot and make it a little bit more fun and easy. The cards, procedurally, they're a pain in the ass. Trying to figure out stuff like the river basins, trying to remember stuff like no jungle next to desert, when everything's covered up with counters and you can't really see what's going on. There's just a lot of stuff in this game that kind of makes it feel just too cumbersome in different ways. There's still this excitement and the fun of the exploration and of the horrible things that happen when you're trying to, but it does feel like it's a little too harsh, and it feels like it's a lot too much of a pain in the ass to deal with the rules, to deal with, all the specifics of generating all that terrain. And of course, for me, playing it solo, it's not that much fun because that sort of shared joy of disaster really kind of fades in the way. On the other hand, dealing with the rule book, if you're going to not just sort of fake it and you're going to look things up and try to deal with them, is really, really painful in opposed play. I think it's best to just have somebody who mostly knows the rules try to run the game and screw it. I mean, it's not like it's really a competitive game because there's so much luck involved in it and everything that it's more like a game of Talisman or Tales of the Arabian Nights, where you're there for the story more than you're there for you're there for the silliness of the story, because the story isn't that rich and in depth. Tales is a little better, but it's still, it really isn't. It's more like you're wandering around and things are happening to you, and it's funny when they're bad, and it's funny when they're really, really good. And like one guy alone is able to make a massive exploration. This was a pretty big exploration for one guy, right? Anyway, let me send this up, and I guess I'll review it before I go to sleep.